Merry Christmas! To celebrate, I figured it was only fitting to review the place where you can celebrate Christmas year-round. And I, of course, am talking about Santa's Village, specifically the one in Jefferson, New Hampshire. I have been visiting this park for nearly 30 years, and I can confidently say it's one of the best children's parks in the entire world. Find out why in this review. Christmas-themed events at amusement parks have become more widespread in the past decade, but some parks go one step further. There are quite a few Christmas-themed parks, and 5 amusement parks currently named, or once named, Santa's Village. But the first and best of the bunch is the one in Jefferson, New Hampshire. Located north of the White Mountains, New Hampshire's Santa's Village opened in 1953. While the park initially didn't have any mechanical rides, the park always had a charming atmosphere. The park feels like the North Pole and Santa's workshop were plopped right down the middle of a forest. It creates a joyous and relaxing atmosphere at the same time. By the 1980s, Santa's Village had the rides of a traditional amusement park. And today, they have 20 different rides and attractions, plus a small water park. And what I admire most is the family focus. Almost every ride in the park can be enjoyed by kids and parents alike. The most restrictive ride in the entire park is the bumper cars, with a 42-inch height requirement. Most other rides are just 36 to 39 inches, or not at all. And even though these height limits are very favorable for younger guests, they've actually been tightened since I was a kid. I don't think there used to be any minimum height limits, because I have photos of me riding Rudy's Rapid Transit Coaster and the Yule Log Flume, both of which now have 36-inch height requirements when I was under that mark. And not only are the rides accessible to young kids, but adults can comfortably ride them too. Compare that to most children's rides where adults are far too tall for them. I have many fond memories riding the rides at Santa's Village with my parents. Adults can still enjoy this park without kids, especially if you appreciate theming and atmosphere. It starts with the entrance plaza. The focal point is this beautiful hut with igloo doorways. This actually used to be both the park's entrance and exit, but now it's just the park exit and gift shop. A larger main entrance was built to the left to help reduce congestion. But you also have some attractions outside the entrance. You have a large nutcracker where you can slide down the arms, and then you also have a Rudolph animatronic where you can directly talk to and interact with. It's similar to the Mystic Fountain at Islands of Adventure. Once inside, it really feels like Advent. The midways play popular Christmas music. The buildings are quaint. And then you have a dozen photo opportunities. You have things ranging from nativity displays, to giant snowmen, to Santa's sleigh. I just love all this park's theming. And then you have the aforementioned woods, so there's plenty of shade as you walk down the midways. Now this setting can cause a headache though. Because of this park's location in a very small and isolated New Hampshire town, cell service is very poor. I have Verizon and my fiance has Metro PCS. In past visits, we had 0 cell service. In our 2021 visit, we had extremely weak signals. We could barely send texts, but we could forget about sending pictures or loading most websites. The park does have free albeit spotty Wi-Fi, so you might be able to use that. Just keep this cell service in mind if your group likes to split up or someone is heavily reliant on their phone. The park's layout can be a little bit confusing for a first timer, as there are some dead ends, but that makes the next part all the more rewarding. One of the park's signature experiences is Alphabet University. Located near the main entrance, all guests can receive a complimentary card with all 26 letters of the alphabet. You then go on a scavenger hunt to find 26 different elf statues in the park to fill out your punch card. Each elf starts with a different letter of the alphabet and has a different appearance. And if you're a repeat visitor, just know that Santa's Village will sometimes move them around the park as they add new attractions. Anyone who successfully finds all 26 elves can get a free diploma and complimentary prize. There are some other notable interactive exhibits as well. You have a reindeer barn where you can meet Santa's fine flying friends, a shop where you can decorate your own gingerbread cookie, a blacksmithing shop that gives complimentary rings to guests, and Santa's home where you can meet the man himself. The park's cheerful atmosphere is further reinforced by the employees. Santa's Village's employees tend to be in the older side. This, combined with the park's remote location, leads me to believe they get more returnees year after year than your typical amusement park. And the staff here is extremely friendly. They will bend over backwards for guests. The employees working the Yule log flume very literally squeegee the logs before new guests board. The employee working Santa's Skyway sleigh insists on riders to start the ride with the magic words, and then the employees are always on the lookout for frightened guests who want a ride to stop early. Take the Ferris wheel for example, where the employee circles the wheel at a super slow speed for the first rotation to make sure everyone is comfortable before starting the main cycle. And the employees have the freedom to do this because lines are rarely an issue at Santa's Village. Most rides are usually walk-ons, but there are 2 observation rides I would recommend hitting early towards the back. Santa's Skyway Sleigh monorail is probably the park's most popular attraction, and then the aforementioned Christmas Ferris wheel is a painstakingly slow loader. Both these attractions can get half-hour waits most days, but they are the park's 2 most scenic rides, so I do highly recommend them. The Ferris wheel is the park's highest attraction, so it gives a stunning view of the White Mountains. On a clear day, you can see Mount Washington. Then Santa's Skyway Sleigh gives a full aerial tour of the park. If you'd prefer a tour from ground level, you have a really nice set of antique cars, or the Santa's Express train ride that circles the park. As for roller coasters, Santa's Village has 2. The larger of the 2 was actually my first roller coaster in Rudy's Rapid Transit Coaster. This Zier Tivoli coaster has a beautiful Rudolph lead car and a comically long train with 20 cars. So if you ride in the back, you'll actually get some decent whip on the first 2 drops. The smaller of the 2 coasters is Poogie Penguin's Spin-Out Coaster, which is an SBF Visa spinner. Just make sure to watch your head on the headrests because despite their appearance, they're as hard as rock. This one feels more like a flat ride than a roller coaster in many ways, but that's fine for this park. Santa's Village doesn't have too many flat rides, but they're peppered throughout the park. None are true standouts, but they do complement the park's offerings well. The bumper cars here are pretty good as they have decent power and are in a large arena. The Little Drummer Boy is a Tubs of Fun ride that is exceedingly easy to spin. And then the park's Reindeer Carousel has riders mount, you guessed it, reindeer. You also have some indoor attractions. You have a 3D show, plus a shooting dark ride in the Great Humbug Adventure. This attraction was originally built in an old gift shop, so it's sort of a cheap ride, but was completely renovated by Sally for the 2020 season. The ride received new animatronics, new scenes, and all new hardware. Riders are challenged to tickle, not shoot, humbugs, and their infectious giggle will get stuck in your head. This is a solid shooting dark ride for a park like this, and I really like the unique theme. The park's best attraction is the Yule log flume. This Hopkins log ride's layout travels deep in the woods. You can barely see any of it off-ride. The course has some mini rapids, and then it culminates in a sizable final plunge, especially for a children's park. The drop may not be super steep, but it has some zip to it due to its height. And the resultant splash is perfectly refreshing. If you want to get drenched, you have Santa's Water Park. It's pretty small, but it has a festive water play structure, some pools, and some water slides. Just note the temperature needs to get above 65 degrees, and that sometimes isn't reached on summer days here. If you want dry slides, you have a few options. The park has several playgrounds scattered about the park, and these are great ways for kids to burn off extra energy in between rides. The largest and most unique slide is U-tubing. This is a dry tubing experience. Guests board a tube and slide down a hill on this ultra-slick material. This is why the attraction typically closes in any precipitation, although a few years ago, I was able to ride in a snowstorm, and I overshot the runoff and crashed into tubes at the bottom. I think they closed it after that. And yes, you heard that right. Santa's Village will run most rides in the snow. The park is open in November and December for Christmas, and it will almost always snow for at least some of the days. Seeing this park coated in snow is extra magical. The website does warn the roller coasters can close in this type of weather, but I've ridden both while it was snowing. I cannot say I've ever done that with any other roller coaster. Winter is probably the best time of year to visit Santa's Village, and that's not too much of a surprise for a Christmas-themed park, because it really gets you in the mood for the holidays. In the summer, the park closes by nightfall. In the winter, the park stays open past sunset, and the park is adorned with some nice lights. And the only rides closed are the water rides, but that does include my favorite there in Yule log flume. Moving on to food, there are 2 stands in particular I recommend. First, you have Nick's Pizza Emporium, which makes some of the best pizza of any amusement park. I even prefer to the award-winning Cesare's at Knoebels. 2, you have a mini donut factory by the chimney drop tower that bakes and fries donuts fresh. So do I recommend Santa's Village? If you have young kids, absolutely. This is one of the world's best amusement parks for kids. It's rare for a park to have this many attractions available for younger guests between the rides and slides. And then adults can appreciate a handful of these rides along with the park's cheery atmosphere and charming theming. Now, park admission has gone up pretty significantly in recent years. As recent as 2016, admission was roughly $30. But in 2021, the park cost roughly $40 to $54 depending upon the day. If you plan to spend a full day, especially if you have young kids, I think it's a fair price for a day of family fun. However, it is a very pricey pit stop if you only care about the coaster credits and going though. Santa's Village is just 1 hour from Storyland, and while I think Storyland has the better rides, Santa's Village has an equally great atmosphere. I strongly recommend trying both parks to see which one you prefer. So those are my thoughts on Santa's Village, the Christmas theme park in northern New Hampshire. What are your thoughts on this park? Have you been there? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.